Okay, Lisa Genovese here at Bottomline. Really looking forward to our next interview with Brayden Clark, Marketing Director at VRKADE. So welcome, Brayden.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So let's start off by you telling us what VRKADE is.
Yeah, absolutely. So VRKADE is a chain of virtual reality arcades. Think of kind of a standard arcade from back in the 80s, but entirely based around virtual reality. So people come in, they book a whole VR booth for an hour. We set them up with a special headset, and they connect with their friends and play a whole bunch of really interesting games in virtual reality. So they'll be flying through space, fighting dragons. They'll be fighting a giant cactus surrounded by flying cheese, which is one of our more unique games. And we have a whole bunch of really fun game experiences, but we've also been branching out into things like education and marketing and sales using our VR tech and hardware.
How cool. And you mentioned multiple locations. Were you guys just in Calgary or other places too?
Yeah, we've got 3 locations in Calgary, one in Lethbridge, one in Nanaimo, and one in Abbotsford, BC.
Nice. I actually didn't realize you guys were outside the province. That's kind of neat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you notice a big difference between the locations and kind of who comes in to try out the games?
Surprisingly, not. Our customer demographic is pretty flat between both provinces.
Okay.
I think we get a couple more moms in our south location and like kids' birthday parties, but that's because it's in a mall. So the moms come, they drop their kids off and head to the bay for an hour.
Neat. Okay. No, that makes sense. And I've asked that question of a few people I've interviewed, and it's really interesting. Sometimes it is what you've said, and then other times they're like, no, it's actually drastically different between provinces.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's kind of cool. So I was looking at your website and I noticed that you guys are doing field trips with Stanford University. Can you tell us more about what that is?
Absolutely. So Stanford has kind of set up a whole testing program to find out how well kids learn in virtual reality. So we're a part of that. We use some of the kind of curriculum stuff they've made, and we work with them to kind of learn how. So we run the field trips with them using the curriculum, and then we kind of work with them to figure out how to use the feedback from the kids that go to those field trips to refine education in VR. So it's kind of a cool thing of where we're actually using content, but we're also helping them refine VR education through it.
How neat. I wish that was around when I was in school. It would have made things a lot more interesting.
I would have listened in science class.
Yeah, you and me both. I was certainly not star student.
No, I was too busy drumming on my desk.
Yep. And I noticed too, so you guys have like games, but then you also mentioned an escape room, and I'm curious, like, what's the difference between the two things?
Yeah, so the regular games are kind of a wide variety of interesting games. So zombie shooters, space flying simulators. We've got one where you climb a giant candy mountain. The escape rooms are kind of the same theme as a regular real life escape room, but on a bigger scale. So a really good example is we've teamed up with the guys at Ubisoft to make, we didn't make it, we host it, they make it, Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia escape rooms. So you'll be in the Assassin's Creed universe, and you'll be in a giant Greek pantheon. And instead of being in a regular escape room, you've got to find a little key in a box. You have to move giant statues or shoot arrows at targets and line up laser beams. So it becomes a very Indiana Jones type experience. And yeah, it's fun. You get up to 6 players in some of the rooms, and you'll sit there and try to escape the entire experience.
Neat. That sounds a lot more interactive than like a typical escape room. I know I've gone with my family to do, I can't think of the name of the company right now, but the in-person ones where you go through, and they're really difficult, some of them. I was surprised.
Yeah, they really are. They're really fun.
Yeah, they are fun, and it would be really neat to do it in a VR experience. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. When you like turn around a giant statue and point a laser at something, you're like, yes, I am Harrison Ford. Thank you very much.
Well, and I would imagine that there are, like, this is kind of a new technology, so there's probably more and more companies coming out with this. I'm curious on on the competition side of things, like, do you guys have a lot of competitors yet, or they're just starting to have that now?
It's, without going into a massive explanation of the location-based industry, it's a very interesting subsection of the entertainment-based industry because, kind of like escape rooms, it's quite financially simple to set up a VR arcade. There's not a huge amount of overhead, so we have seen a lot of competitors crop up. The problem with it comes down to the fact that there's so much technology and so many systems involved that providing a streamlined customer experience is very difficult. So we have seen a lot of competitors show up and then end up closing their doors simply because there's so much complexity to it that it's difficult to finally get the unit economics down to make it a profitable system. Yeah.
Nope, that makes
sense. We definitely have. It's weird.
Okay, and I'm curious, without maybe sharing too much for your competitors to learn from, what's the secret sauce in that, or is there something that you guys have done differently that's really set you apart from your competition?
Yeah, lots and lots of system standardization.
Okay.
So we've obviously had to go through the school of hard knocks of learning how to put which systems together and how to make sure that all the technology fits together well, and then from there we serialize it and make sure that each and every location follows the same guidelines. And then we're fortunate to have really, really, really incredible guys on the ground in the stores who are incredibly personable, incredibly tech savvy, and they love kids and video games, which is kind of hard to find that exact tech stack. So
that's fair. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And are you guys is it a franchise model, or is it owner operated for each of the different locations?
It's a franchise model. We have two company operated and owned sites, the Lethbridge and Southwest Calgary, and then all the other ones are franchises.
Okay, that makes sense, and that speaks a lot then to the systems and processes and the importance of it. So very cool, very cool.
Nice.
What about on the growing the business side? So I know your role is in marketing there, but I'm curious, how has that gone? Has there been big lessons, I'm sure, that have been learned on what kind of to do and what not to do from a marketing or a growing the business perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming in to the company as someone who likes video games, the initial idea was, hey, this is the most high-tech, amazing kind of video game. Let's market on that. Let's market it to people who like their Xboxes, who like PlayStation. Let's market to the 24-year-old male who's looking for something to do tonight, which was probably the dumbest idea ever because it didn't work at all.
Okay.
So we actually had to learn that even though we deal with this fun technology, those people aren't our target demographic. Our target demographic are actually mothers between the ages of 28 and 55, because they're the ones that are wanting to find something exciting for their family, the ones that are wanting to give their kids a fun afternoon with their friends, and put their kids through interesting educational experiences. So we've gone and done some really cool refining of our brand image and our messaging and our advertising strategies to meet that. And then that fed into a whole bunch of cool changes on how we changed our ad targeting and our ad objectives so that we can see a better ROI on that. So one of the biggest lessons we learned is just kind of stepping back from our video game nerdy side and realizing who we're actually serving and the actual problems we're solving.
That's
if
great.
That answers the question.
It certainly does. And I'm curious, what did you guys do to figure out who that audience was? Was it a bunch of split testing or research, or what did that look like?
It was looking at old data from ads that had previously been run and campaigns that had previously been run and kind of dissecting why they didn't work, and then just simply looking at the data that was provided by Facebook and the other advertising systems. So there was a couple old campaigns that were being run or had been run when I stepped in. And so it was just going in, looking at those, being like, okay, these didn't convert well, but who did convert? So it was simply data. And then split testing from there, but the split testing just confirmed what the old data was telling us.
Very cool. I love that you guys use data to inform that decision. Like, as you know, that's the drum that we beat all the time. And
Yep.
I love hearing that businesses are actually leveraging the information that is free for them to look at, but so many aren't doing that. It's
I know.
a missed opportunity. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. What
It's
about
fun.
It is fun. I'm with you. I find market research data, I'm clearly a nerd because I find that fascinating and so interesting to go through and exciting. And I have lots of friends that are like, that is the most boring job ever. Why do you like doing that?
I look at spreadsheets all day and just be happy.
And it's funny for myself. I'm not as much like on the spreadsheet side of things as I am looking at like, okay, what was the outcome? And then being able to almost pick through and find that like gem of something that everybody else isn't seeing. And then it's like, there it is.
Absolutely. Cool.
That's what excites me. And then being able to devise a strategy from that is why I do this.
Good. That's awesome. Yep. No, I love that. Well done.
Oh, super fun.
But I interrupted your other question. Go on.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to ask, I'm sure in the VR world, because it's such a new technology, that there's a lot of misconceptions about what you do.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think it's such a new, that's a very good point, and I actually haven't thought of it this way before. It's such a new industry that there's not even enough information for people to have misconceptions of what we do.
Sure.
So most people, when I tell them about virtual reality, either instantly know everything about it because they've done it and they've experienced it and they think it's wonderful, or they have no idea what I'm talking about. And when I say VR, they think I'm talking about some interesting scientific acronym or something like that. Oh, VR. I don't know. So that's actually been an interesting hurdle when it comes to our digital marketing is we don't even have to address misconceptions. We have to address the fact that some people just have no idea what we are.
Fair. So they don't know what they don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been interesting. But
yeah,
thankfully not many misconceptions, just a complete lack of conception.
Oh, well. And then I'm sure you guys are doing a great job, though, of educating those people so that they become aware and they learn from it. So
we're doing our utmost.
That's great. What about challenges that's facing your industry? Like, I'm sure COVID was not an easy thing for you guys. So I'm sure that was one challenge, but what else? Is there anything that people listening in could maybe learn from so they don't make the same mistake?
Of course. So COVID was surprisingly not too great of a challenge for us. We obviously had to close down when everyone else did. But because the activity itself is fairly social distancing friendly, you're automatically in a 6 foot by 6 foot or 8 foot by 8 foot curtained off and enclosed bay that's highly sanitized between experiences. Pre-COVID, it was actually something that people looked at as a alternative to other things when COVID restrictions were lifted. So we actually filled up again quite quickly, which we were incredibly happy about, and we were incredibly fortunate with. Challenges. One of the biggest challenges facing our industry is a lack of content. Specifically high quality educational and large scale free roam content. So there's lots of content available for those bay systems that we use, but the educational systems does not a lot of content that's specifically designed to school curriculums or to fit into those kind of models. So that's actually been one of the things we've been trying to deal with, and has been one of our larger challenges recently.
That makes sense. And you said free roam content. For those that are listening in, can you just clarify what does that mean for them?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Free roam VR is virtual reality where you're not plugged into a computer or hampered by wires. So you have a headset on your face and you can walk around a 60 foot by 50 foot area freely. So you'll get a whole bunch of kids who plop on a headset and walk around their school gym, and they're walking through an entire moving and interactive model of the solar system.
Nice.
That's free roam VR. The headsets aren't quite as powerful, so you can't get the same kind of graphics, but it's a lot more immersive.
Very, very cool. I have to say, I've actually never really tried it to the same. Like, I have one of those that go on my face that my phone goes in, which is, I'm sure, not quite the same thing. So I will have to come down and give it a shot one of these days.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you guys. Totally.
It'd be fun. That would be really fun. So in terms of like and maybe 18 months is too big of an ask, but what are the plans in the future? I know that some people are thinking as far out as 18 months, some are thinking in the next 3. So what does that look like for you guys in terms of a timeline? But what are like the big, hairy, audacious goals that you're chasing after?
Absolutely. So we've just launched a couple months ago North America's first proper free roam combat arena. So it's up in the northeast of Calgary. You strap on those headsets and you have a little pistol, and there's no wires, no cables. You can see your friends standing in front of you, and you sprint around and play laser tag in a crazy virtual world. So we've teamed up with both the guys at South Center Mall and Red Bull, and we're putting on a big tournament in early 2021. And we really, really want to keep growing that. We're just launching a second arena down in South Center Mall right now. So 18 months from now, if we've got a whole bunch of these things pumping across the country, we would be very excited. And we're also working on some really cool in-house educational content to try to fix that challenge that we were facing earlier. So if we've got the first couple rounds of that up and running and we're getting it into schools, we'd also be quite excited.
That's fantastic. Oh, those are exciting plans. You will have to keep me posted.
Absolutely. We'll have you come fight in the tournament. You can shoot your sales teams.
Oh my gosh. This sounds like way too much fun.
Oh dear, you have an interesting relationship with your sales teams.
They know I love them.
Oh, fine.
Oh, too funny. Awesome. Well, listen, Brayden, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This was great.
Of course.